Ladies and gentlemen, I am Victor Irving Jenkins. I'm here with Cliff Brackett, and we welcome you all to this morning's edition of Power Talking with Power Talkers. Cliff and I are both members of the Power Talkers Toastmasters Club that meets virtually every Monday. We meet virtually every Monday, and if you want to join the show, the link is in the description. Here at Power Talking with Power Talkers, we are pretty much committed to improving speakers' lot. And right now, we are talking about how to make the transition from being a Toastmaster into actually being a paid professional speaker. And that this is not mandated by Toastmasters. This is not even subsidized by Toastmasters. This is our attempt to help you get from point A to point B. Actually, we're helping me get from point A to point B. So, Cliff, why don't you? I'm going to let you say good morning and introduce them and tell them just a brief couple of sentences about you.
Yes, well, my name is Cliff Brackett, and I'm a retired contractor, but I'm also a teacher. And I've been working on, I've been a member of Toastmasters for like 27, 28 years. And I've spent a lot of time, many hours, looking at what do successful speakers have that makes them effective. And so that's been my major emphasis for the last, I'd say, 10 to 12 years is how to be an effective speaker. Even if you're dynamic and charismatic, and there are a lot of good qualities, if a speaker isn't effective, then the question is, what are they trying to achieve or what's the value? So anyway, that's where I come from, and we're applying that to your presentations and how you can be the most effective in whatever you're doing.
And Lord knows I need to be the most effective. So we're not going to waste your time. We're going to jump right in to our presentation this morning. We're going to show something that I did live some time ago. And Cliff's going to see, I believe he's going to tell us how well this answers that first question in our launch sequence, how to let my market know that something is coming without them getting the fear of sales triggered. Because what happens is we all have these subconscious triggers, and if you're trying to sell somebody something, man, right away they put up their guard. So let's get into this video. Here in this first training of a three-part series that I'll be sharing over the next couple of days, that's all about the fear of speaking online. Now, the fear of speaking online is something that not a lot of so-called experts are even talking about. And if you've noticed that your online speaking is not improving, or your video engagement is not growing, I can almost guarantee that this fear, the fear that most experts are not talking about, is causing a big problem with your videos. We're going to get into that in just a second. However, if you're here with me right now, if you're hearing this live, just give me a thumbs up on this video by dropping a little hello in the comments for me. It's so awesome to see everyone here. And if you're watching this later, because I know you might not be here, you might not be watching it in real time, could you just drop the word replay in the comments for me? And that'll let me know that you came by later, and then we can have a conversation so I can answer any questions that you might have. So like I said, I'm really excited because we're going to be diving into the subject of the fear of online speaking that most experts are not talking about. And it's actually causing a big problem with your online presence. However, before we talk about that, I want to start off by telling you guys a story. If you already know me, then you know that I'm a Toastmaster. You know I'm a Toastmaster who attends many meetings, and I listen to a lot of speeches. Actually, my whole life is Toastmasters. A few months back, I was listening to a Toastmaster give a speech. He was talking about this thing called Neuro-Linguistic Programming, or NLP. He was using slides, and he was doing quite a nice job. After the change in the speaking landscape, he did that speech again. Only this time, he had the constraint of having to do it online. If you have ever used PowerPoint with Zoom, you probably know how painstaking it was. He showed up as a little rectangle in the upper right hand corner of the presentation screen, and the thing was highly unsatisfactory, and his evaluator told him so. Now, because I'm a DTM, or a Distinguished Toastmaster, I knew exactly what the evaluator was talking about because, unlike the evaluator, I had heard the talk before and I knew how good it was. And if you can feel what I'm saying right now, drop. I think that's enough a good place to start.
Okay. Are we going to listen to more of it, or what are we going to do?
We're gonna listen to as much of it as you want. If I thought you'd have some comments about it already.
Well, I sure do. So I did listen to this presentation before.
Okay, all right. Okay, so then our audience can just hear your comments.
Okay. So if this is to be an effective presentation, what's the goal that you want to achieve with this presentation? What would you see that you would say, this was an effective presentation for me, Victor Irving Jenkins?
I am answering that question. Do they know that something is coming? Right? Because what I'm talking about, I'm telling them about their fear of online speaking, and I'm going to tell them the reason that they're unsatisfied with their speaking online.
Okay, you answered my question by telling me what you were going to do. You didn't answer my question, which is what results would you expect to see from the audience if this was an effective presentation?
I would want them to be chomping at the bits to see the next one.
Okay, all right. So whatever you're going to give them would leave them with such a sense of anticipation that there's more that they want to hear.
Right.
Okay, so if we look at the eight essential rules, the third rule is you begin with a hook and arrow, which is a hook, a statement or something to grab their attention, and the arrow points to what you're going to say. So if we look at your opening, you said you're going to be talking about the fear of speaking. And it's not something that experts are talking about. We're going to be talking about, and then you dropped in some comments. We're going to be diving into that whole section there. Probably took 4 or 5 minutes. I don't know. I didn't time it. I was going to. And we have no idea what you're going to talk about.
Right. It seemed to me just now as I was listening to it, and that's why one of the main reasons I stopped because I got a lot more going on now than I did when I made that video. And as I'm watching it right now, I'm looking at all the time that's going by and how little I'm actually seeing, really,
Yeah.
because
Okay.
a lot of it just sounds
Right.
like dressing.
Right. Okay. And then you get to, however, before we talk, so if we skip that statement, however, before we talk about it, if we skip that and go to the next part, I want to tell you about a speaker I saw who did a presentation on NLP. Very effective, really got me involved, and I could say that I could see how there was a lot of value in this. Now, sometime later, I saw the same speaker give basically the same presentation at a Toastmaster club on Zoom. And here was this little square, and there was no effectiveness. And describe it however you want to describe it. And the woman who did his evaluation acknowledged to him that he came across very weak, and you didn't get the power of his presentation. Having seen it,
Cliff, I have to say that you are capturing the essence of what I wanted to be saying, even though I didn't say those words.
right.
So if you're my audience, is the audience going to be as sharp as you to get what I'm saying without using those words?
What do you mean?
That's the question.
Are they going to be as sharp?
Well, as I say, when you articulate to me what you just
Right,
did, you basically said exactly what I wanted to say from listening to what I actually said.
right.
Do you think that the audience will get what you got?
Oh, yeah, but they have to filter through it. What I'm doing is I'm condensing it down so that we don't have to go through the filter of analyzing or putting together, trying to, it says exactly what you want to say. That's why it's effective. And yes, if you say it that way, I saw the speaker and it was very effective on NLP, and NLP is very popular. A lot of people are into it, and it's well known. So if you talk about how it was an effective speech, say some of the good things you liked about it, and then I saw him on Zoom, and then describe it the way you described it. Now, there's the story, and that's grabbed our interest. So where do you go from here? See, all you've
You
done
want to?
now is given the hook and arrow, and you're using a story to do it. You're saying we're going to talk about people not being effective on Zoom, on the video, whatever video program they're using. Okay, so that's what we're going to talk about. Now, okay, so if we use the 8 essential rules, uh, the first rule is know the end before you begin. What's the final thing you're going to leave your audience with? The final statement. And we can talk about that because I'm not sure that we know yet. The
Well,
next,
let's go back to the presentation.
okay, but
No,
well, go ahead. Let's see how it goes. Yeah.
I'm, 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 I'm. I don't want to be taking over what you're saying. I just thought that it would be effective if
No,
you.
yeah, let's go ahead. Let's do
Okay,
it.
let's take a look. Share the screen. Comments for me. That lets me know that you're tracking the story. Speaking of story, here's a quick backstory about that same Toastmaster. For years, he had wanted to improve his speaking, but resisted Toastmasters for fear of public speaking. Now, after making quite a bit of progress with his in-person speaking, now the reality is that most of his audiences have moved online. Now, I don't know about you guys or if you have ever had this happen before, where you see someone and you know them well enough to know when something's not right. You can tell by the look on their face or by their body language when they're upset. And so I could tell that he was upset. So when he said to me, "How did I do?" Those 4 words, "How did I do?" I knew that this was a big deal for him, letting me know that he was disappointed in his online performance. Now, this speaker knew I was a distinguished Toastmaster and had been for quite some time. To be able to speak as well as a distinguished Toastmaster had always been a dream of his. And just as that dream was being realized, most of his audiences moved online. He also knew that I had been helping speakers for quite some time. He told me about his rise and the level of fear regarding his online speaking versus in-person speaking. And you could say that about anybody who speaks. And it was really, really obvious to me from our conversation that he didn't know what was going on or why there should even be a difference. He probably thought, if I did well before with in-person speaking, why can't I do well now with online video speaking? What was going on? He didn't know why all of a sudden he had a lack of confidence in his online speaking. He thought speaking is speaking, and I should be getting better because I'm still speaking. It was clear to me that it was having a huge negative impact on him to the point where he wasn't even looking forward to his next online speaking opportunity. So after I said, "I feel your pain," I said, "Here's what we are going to do. Call my office and schedule an appointment with my assistant, and I will carve out some time to teach you a few tricks of the trade that has helped me over the years and that you will not find in a book. It was then that I noticed the tiniest little smile of confidence start to form on his face. He spun around, did an about face, and left the room. Now, here's the long story short. After a few intense sessions, he conquered his fear of online speaking and has never looked back since. So that's a bit of a window into my life when I'm teaching in the online speaking academy. So what I'm trying to do is say something like, I'm one of you, or I understand the experience that you're having, and or I did have the experience that you had, and I know how to solve it for you.
Okay, so I'm going to just take advantage of our friendship and our trust for each other and kind of cut the bullshit and get to the real meat of the thing. You've got everything here, but it's kind of like having a gourmet meal, and then we put some Fritos around it, and we've got some popcorn, and oh, here's a little goodies. Oh, and here's little pieces of chocolate to kind of get you off. And we don't see the gourmet meal anymore. So let's get to the thing. And so we tell the story of what's the guy's name? Let's give him a name.
Let's call him Rick.
Rick. So I saw Rick. We tell about he did the speech. You liked him. He was great. And I assumed he was in Toastmasters because you made a statement he was afraid of Toastmasters. And then you say and I got confused of whether he was in Toastmasters or not. But whatever. He did this presentation. You saw it. It was great. Then he did it on a Zoom. And it was weak. All right. There's a story. Now we get to the problem. I had known Rick for many years, and we have had a good relationship. And he asked me after he did this Zoom video, he asked me, how did I do? And I could hear the concern and fear in his voice. So we talked about it. How do you think you did, Rick? And he made this statement. He said, I've been in Toastmasters for years. I don't understand what the difference is talking online versus talking to a group. I'm still speaking. And I realized, not about you, I realized that people don't understand the difference. And why should they? Why should anyone realize that there's such a difference when you've got an audience that you're speaking one-on-one versus speaking into a camera? So how do you make that come alive? I said, Rick, I really understand your problem. And here's what I'm going to ask you to do. Call my office, set up an appointment, and we're going to sit down together a few times. And when we're finished, you're going to notice a whole different way of looking, or whatever he's noticing. Mm-hmm. And that's what he did. He called. He spent 4 or 5 sessions, whatever. And when he left, he was confident and he was strong, and he's never looked back. That's what this is all about.
Cliff, you as you deliver this content, you sound more connected than I did.
That's because,
why do you think that is?
That's because here's the thing. If we looked at how many times you say I see, now you're learning something about me. This is how I am, and I've been in, so your focus is really on you, because your assumption is if the audience sees how great you are, they'll want to be like you. That's not credibility or relevance. The credibility is the story illustrates a problem that people really can relate to. And I never thought about that. If I've been speaking for 10 years in Toastmasters and all of a sudden I'm speaking on a camera, yeah, why should I? But I don't know. I've had no training. I get that's a great question. You don't have to talk about yourself. When you give the story, Now, I want to clarify that. It may be beneficial for you to tell the story how you made that transformation to develop the presence, but not the way you're doing it. And that has to be a separate segment because that's credibility. I don't know that you need to talk about your own experience. You come across professional. It's, we look at you and we see you. And now that presentation we saw with that plain background and you standing there, I think that there's things you could do to strengthen that. But looking you on Zoom right now and just the way you come across, you don't have to explain to me how you got there. You're there. So you're going to tell me how I can get there. And that's all I care about. As long as I'm confident that you know how to do it, then all I care is how do I learn it. So that format, the problem, the story of him, his statement, he expressed his fear of online. How did I do? And then he said, and this is a great statement, why, if I've been speaking for years and done so well, why now am I doing so poorly? Great question. There's the problem. See, in a nutshell, that's the problem. Now you're going to offer the solution, and you want to do it in the most powerful way. And so what you're saying is, I had him call my office, and see, that clarifies who you are. You're professional. We set up an appointment. I worked with him for amount of time, and then if you can give some feedback on or some description on the change he went through, because that's the solution. What he did. And so we have 4 parts. Let me kind of slow down a little bit. Problem, solution, application, benefit. So here's where you put those together. The problem is he's been speaking for years. Why is he doing so poorly online? That's the problem. The solution was education, training that he got from you. That's it. That was the solution. Now, the application, you're not going to tell them how he did it, what you're telling, or what you said to him. So you're not going to give that. What you're going to say is, when he was done, what was the result? How did he come across? How was he different? See, that's the benefit. That's what you're selling. Now, in your follow-up, what you're going to offer them is some free information on how to get those results. That's what you're going to offer, those results. But what are those results? You say he walked away and he never looked back. But specifically, what was different than when he did it before? So how would you describe that?
The fear that I alluded to that he had for his next presentation, he was not looking forward to it. He started to look forward to it. And as he started to look forward to it, he did more online presentations and felt a lot more confident about those online presentations. In fact, he was telling me things that he had experienced that was different for him than before he started talking to me.
Okay, so the one big result you're talking about is confidence. Now, what I'm kind of curious about, and therefore I'm assuming your audience would be too, is just what was one thing that you gave him that gave him confidence? Now we're looking at the actual application without giving the whole store away. What's one thing you gave him that you would like to share that anybody could take away with them that gave him confidence?
The realization that much of the confidence that he had was actually coming from the audience, was actually coming from being able to look from one person to the other and have those persons respond to him and sort of eat that up. And when you're not in a live presentation, you don't have that.
Awesome.
So now you got
there you go. That is a beautiful illustration. So you got all the gems there. This is a gourmet meal. We just got to get all the other trimmings that don't apply out of it. Okay. So there's one nugget that you could give them. Now, you really haven't told them how to look at it differently, which is okay because that's what you want them to buy, or you may offer that in your freebie.
And,
But
that's the hard part. Is I mean, it's a little difference, but it's a difficult thing to manage in here.
right, right. So see, that's the important thing. But being able to tell the audience, that's why you have the problem. I never thought about that, but that is the source of confidence. And here's the beautiful thing about that. That gives you more credibility than a degree because you're giving the information in a way that people can get it right now in their heart. Oh, yeah, yeah, that's true. So now my next thing is, well, how do I look at it different? See, now I want to know. See, and that's what you want to create. But you see how we've done it by just very simple steps. We haven't had to, and that's what's so beautiful about being effective. You can do it very simply. Now we do have to
Well,
figure
this has
out
been
what.
a good show. This has been good today. I mean, this really has got me confident, even more confident, and it also increases your value. I mean, I see now that, Cliff, I'm not really the only person that could benefit from your perception, from your expertise, and this might be a show we could take on the road.
Yeah. Well, I would like to do this for others and make money myself. I mean, obviously that is my goals. So right now I'm doing it by teaching and I'm applying these rules in my teaching. So as I become a more effective teacher, then I'm also becoming a far more effective instructor on these principles. So yeah.
Well, I
Okay.
could be one of your testimonies.
Yeah, there you go. Okay, so where you go from here is you got to decide how much you want to tell in the first clip. See, right now, if we did this whole thing, you've got 3 to 4 minutes and you've got them hooked as far as finishing this. But now, what are you going to leave them with? Or did you want to give them more on this segment? Or we can leave them with something on the next segment. See, what you just said has got me hooked. So now I want to know more. So now you set up where you're going to go. So this is where you kind of have to know what your overall end is so that you can build it effectively to that conclusion.
How can I incorporate? And this is a direct question. And we at the end of the show. We got about a minute left. What I want to do is get some feedback from the viewers as to what they think about what I'm saying, so that I can know how much or how little to put into my final product.
Well, here's the problem. You can't ask for comments. When you say that, it really sounds insecure. It
Okay.
sounds like I need this information. Please give it to me.
Okay.
Uh,
Okay.
yeah. So my suggestion is that you could take this one segment we've done right here, tighten it up, get it written out, and do it, and just put it out there, and then see what comments you get. And
Okay.
I would suggest a second one, equally as short. See little 3 to 4 minute segments where you give a little hint, and then another one, and you give a little, and each one has these little nuggets and each one draws them closer. See, and then you're going to be getting comments, and that will give you the confidence of what direction to go with the audience. But I would suggest you trust your gut and just the
Okay.
people you've talked to and say, I think this is where we should go.
Okay. Okay, Cliff. Hopefully we've kind of spurred some interest in our next show next week. Because next week we're going to talk this right here. I would call this the first pre-launch piece. This is the first content, and once I tighten it up, we'll take a look at it next week and see. I think that'll be enough time for me to tighten it
Yeah,
up. We'll
you know
take a look
what?
at it.
Here's what I've found from working with others, a couple of other speakers that I've been take this one thing and finalize it so that you see what it feels like and you've got a good sense. That's what we've done your previous speeches. We've worked on them until you've got it. If you just take and make this a finished product, you'll then have
Okay.
more confidence and experience to do the next one.
Okay, fantastic. Well, ladies and gentlemen, you've been with Victor Irving Jenkins and Cliff Brackett, and we hope that we see you visiting our Toastmasters Club, Power Talkers, next Monday. And we hope you see us again next Saturday morning as we continue with Power Talking with Power Talkers. Cliff, thanks again. We will see you on the next show. Bye for now.